Shohei Ohtani delivers on the mound and at the batter's box to snap the Dodgers' losing streak, even though Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates almost blew it.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Los Angeles bounced back from their sweep at the hands of Milwaukee by opening their series against Minnesota with a win. Shohei Ohtani came through by making Major League history both with his arm and bat. Dustin May made his first relief appearance since 2020 and looked comfortable. Plus, the Dodgers injury bug hits the bullpen again, this time making it more clear than ever that they need to trade for a high-leverage reliever. We'll be talking about all of this in today's episode of Locked On Dodgers. He's Travis Rodgers. I'm Harry Ruiz, two guys who talk sports for a living and bleed Dodger blue for life. If you listen or watch to our shows every morning, head over to ESPN LA or the ESPN LA app to catch Travis bringing the heat from 9 to noon with the Travis and DeMarco show. As for me, I'm heading into my busiest time of the year calling games in Spanish for the Las Vegas Raiders and USC football. But no matter how hectic things get, nothing beats jumping on the mic every weekday morning and diving deep into what I love the most, talking Dodger baseball with you, especially after a win. And Travis, it has been 16 months since Shohei Ohtani made his regular season debut with the Boys in Blue, but he never ceases to amaze me.
No, it's really remarkable that every time he goes out there, and it's one of the few athletes that I've ever seen, one of the few athletes that I've ever covered, that it doesn't really wear off. That every time you see him, it's, he might do something. He might do something that we've never seen before. He might do something that makes you elbow your buddy and say, did you see that? He is one of one. His pitching yesterday was pretty good, but by the standards that he set, it was probably slightly lower with the home run to Buxton and everything else. But he hits the home run, and just I know that Dodger fans don't need to be told this, but it's nice to hear it, that just sit back and enjoy this man do his thing, because you were never going to see something like this ever again. It is an opportunity to see quite possibly the greatest player of all time in the prime of his life doing things that you will never, ever see again. And it's a real treat.
Yeah, yesterday I had to take my dog out for a walk right before the game started, and I was like, all right, I'll listen to Shohei pitch in the first inning and watch him when he's up at bat. And
Sure.
I missed when he got rocked in his second pitch of the game. It was the first time he has allowed a run since his debut, where he had his first earned run and then had a streak of 8 innings without allowing a run. And then in his second pitch, I was like, oh boy, if Shohei pitching has already surrendered a home run in the second run of the second pitch of the game, this might not be a good day for the Dodgers. But man, having him then come up to bat, Mookie Betts drawing a walk, getting on base for the second game in a row. And I mean, right there, it's the move in the lineup where it has already produced 2 runs on Sunday, 2 runs on Monday with the same formula: a walk by Mookie, a home run by Shohei Ohtani. And I was like, damn, that just shows you. I had literally just finished posting on the Locked On Dodgers socials about Shohei surrendering a home run in the first. He hits a home run. I was like, damn, now I got to do a quick graphic to post that he hit a home run too. But that's the special thing about him. First pitcher since 1979 and third ever in Major League history to both allow and hit a home run in the first inning of a game. That's crazy.
Yeah, it really is, and there was a lot going. Let's start with the pitching here and how he did yesterday. And he gives up the home run, and quite frankly, was not very good in the first inning. There were a couple other balls that were hit really hard. I think there were 3 balls in that first inning that had an exit velocity of over 100 miles an hour. Freddie Freeman made a nice play on one. We saw another ball that was absolutely scorched towards the left side of the field. And you were kind of, like you said, as one of those, hey, is he going to have kind of a bumpy outing? Look, as good as he is, he's a human, and he's going to have days where he's, less than fantastic. And it felt like, oh, maybe today's the day where he's less than fantastic. No, not really. He kind of figured it out and got a little bit of luck or some good fortune on the defensive side and was able to get out of that first inning. And then he comes up and does what only he can do, and that help himself. Like, it's been a long time since we've had pitchers hit in the National League, and there was always a couple of guys that could swing the bat a little bit better than some other guys. Going way back to my favorite Dodger of all time, Fernando Valenzuela, he could really swing the bat. Oral Hershiser could swing the bat. Somebody like Madison
newer era Dodgers, Zach Greinke
could swing the bat for sure. Like there were some guys, but they were never a guy that you're like, I can't make a mistake to this guy or he's going to hit it over the scoreboard. And that's what Ohtani is. And he's not just a pitcher who can hit. He's the best slugger in the National League. He is an extraordinary talent, and he goes out there and he does what he does. And I like what you said. And look, I have an expression that I use on my radio show all the time, 9 to noon on 710 ESPN. Baseball is a game to be played. It's not an equation to be solved. And the Dodgers are so heavily driven with analytics, and I get it, and it's useful, and I'm not saying that you throw it out, but sometimes what your math is telling you is not what needs to be done. And what needed to be done was a little bit of a juggle of the lineup. What needed to be done was trying to find a way to unlock Mookie Betts and get him back to where he has been for the vast majority of his career, which is one of the best players in the league. And there's no rhyme or reason to it other than let's try something different. And all of a sudden you flip-flop Mookie and Shohei is still Shohei. He's hit a home run in 3 consecutive games, but Mookie looks like he's found a little bit of something. Now, maybe it's just a coincidence. It could be, but I'm glad they finally did it. It's given Ohtani an opportunity to hit with some guys on base. We've seen 2 2-run home runs in the last couple of days. We've seen Mookie get on base a couple of times. And yeah, I get it that the guy that hits first is going to get a few more at-bats over the course of the season than the guy that hits second. The guy that hits third is going to get a few less than the guy. I understand the math, but sometimes that you have to just say, you know what? I don't care. I need to try to get something going, and it worked. And I'm glad that who's ever in charge of putting this lineup together, Dave Roberts, his team of, mathematicians or whoever it is, finally
shout out Andrew Friedman.
Shout out Andrew Friedman and the team of MIT guys that look way smarter than me. I'm not pretending that they aren't better at math than me. They are. Baseball is a game to be played. It's not an equation to be solved, and they're starting to play the game a little bit and mix up the lineup, and I think you're seeing some dividends. And look, it may go cold again, and you got to go back the other way, but just saying, nope, this is the way we do it. The math says this is the best way to do it. Yeah, okay, but Mookie's not hitting. Let's try something different, and it seems to have at least worked for a few days.
And I mean, within the same game, we're talking about Shohei Ohtani's home run and the history and how he both allowed and hit a home run in the first inning. The rest of the game, 3 more at-bats, 3 strikeouts. It wasn't great, but at the end of the day, it's like, hey, he got that 2-run bomb that was the game-leading run all the way until the 9th inning where the Twins got a sac fly to get things closer to 5-2. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, Shohei Ohtani put you in a good spot where you were like, damn, we got to come from behind again to, oh, look, we got the lead very early in the game.
Yeah, he's the ultimate table setter, the tone setter, the guy that, he hits that home run, and yeah, he strikes out a lot. He's a slugger. He's going to strike out a lot. That's the way that it goes. He's not Freddie Freeman, who's going to find the baseball over and over again. Shohei Ohtani strikes out a lot. Okay, that's fine. I'll take it. You know what else he did? It's a lot of home runs. He hits a lot of doubles. He hits a lot of triples. And his batting average, his on-base percentage, his slug, all of those things are through the roof. So if I got to live with some strikeouts with him, not a big deal. But what he also does is puts an incredible amount of stress on the opposing pitcher. He puts an incredible amount of stress on the opposing managers, that just his presence in the lineup is something you always have to be fully aware of. Where is he? When's he coming up? How many guys might be on base? And even when he's not getting a bunch of hits in a game, he is a game changer. And we got to see it last night. It was a great night for him. And like you opened up at the beginning, Harry, Dodgers needed a win. It sounds weird because they're obviously, a good team, a first place team, but that's just one of those. I don't care what it looks like. Let's just get a win and get in the W column. And they got it done last night.
Yeah, and also talking about Shohei, the pitcher, he got up to 46 pitches after his high was 36 in his last outing that he had over in San Francisco. So that shows you, hey, okay, every time he's feeling better and better to go longer. This was the first time that he was actually scheduled to go 3 innings instead of being like, okay, he's been good through 2 and he's been economic on his pitches. Let's send him out there again. No, this time he was going to go through 3 and it worked for the Dodgers. And the hope is eventually you'll be able to have him out there for potentially a quality start, or at least having him out there for 5 innings. And this was the game where he had the most traffic. Oral Hershiser brought up the stat that in his previous 5 starts, he had 5 base runners total. In this game, he had 5 base runners total in 3 innings. So it was the rockiest start for him. And still, we're talking about how he struck out 3 batters, how he ended up, allowing 4 hits and also getting a man with a walk, but maintained the damage to 1 run, which came in his second pitch of the game with a home run. I'll say that was a good start for Shohei, who still, this is his major league rehab during major league games against major leaguers.
Yeah, it was by any measure a really good outing. It's just by Shohei's standards, we look at things a little bit differently. Like you said, this would typically be happening in Oklahoma City or somewhere else. And it would just be like, yeah, we're just trying to break a sweat. We're trying to land some pitches. We're trying to make sure that we're healthy. We're going to go from, 15 pitches to 25 to 35 to 45 and just start to stretch some things out along the way. Part of the rehab process, and I'll give the Dodgers all the credit in the world for the way that they've handled his return to the mound, and they've been very disciplined about how they've gone out there and run him out there. But part of the stress test, for lack of a better term, is, what do you look like when you got guys on base? What does it look like when everything isn't super, efficient and easy, and you're striking out 2 guys an inning and there's never anybody else or on base, I should say, and you don't have to, fight your way out of an inning. You don't have to do some of the things that ultimately you're going to have to do. Not every outing, even for Shohei Ohtani, is going to be, a strikeout and a half an inning and some weak contact. You're going to have guys on base. You're going to have to fight your way out of some situations. And he did it yesterday. And I think that was another, milestone in his return to full capacity, full activity, full, leave him out there until you can't leave him out there anymore, is pitching with some traffic on the bases. And he did it yesterday. And not the greatest outing I've ever seen from Shohei Ohtani, but pretty darn good anyway. And he passed the test with flying colors all over again.
And for the first time since opening games for the Dodgers since mid-June, Shohei Ohtani had Dustin May follow him up out of the bullpen. Next on Locked On Dodgers, we'll talk about how the Red Rocket performed on the mound and if right now he's best suited doing this instead of starting games. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency, like a burst pipe. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? No, you just called the next one. That's why having a reliable business line is so important. And that's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. Your whole team can share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more, who's handling this? OpenPhone is offering Locked On Dodgers listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnMLB. That's OpenPhone.com/LockedOnMLB. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers on X and Instagram. Rodgers, just like Dodgers, but instead of a D, an R. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. Let us know if this is the position you want Dustin May in, because he came out of the bullpen for the first time since 2020, and he looked all right. 4 2/3 innings, and despite having a lot of traffic with 5 hits and 3 walks, he left the game without allowing a run for the first time since his season debut in April. Is this a spot where he can be more successful, Travis?
No. I mean, look, This was not a relief appearance in anything other than name. This was a start because this is not a, hey, we might need you tonight. This is a, you're starting the game in the fourth inning. That had Shohei had a bad night and gotten knocked around and they needed to go to somebody earlier than that, I really don't think it would have been Dustin May. I think you would have seen another arm and then Dustin May would have come in the fourth inning. That's what it was. So he was able to approach this like a starting pitcher. And there's two things here. Number one, he pitched well last night. He didn't give up any runs. That's the name of the game. Good for him. Dodgers get a win. And he ate up a lot of innings out of the bullpen last night. But I don't think this is a window into him becoming a more effective. He walks too many guys, Harry. He just does. You've heard me say this a bunch of times. 3 walks is about too many. This is a guy that he was better last night. We saw him. One of those walks wasn't, really his was like a 12 or a 13 pitch walk where the guy had a great at bat. So good for him doing what he did. But you have to throw strikes out of the bullpen. You absolutely cannot walk people coming out of the bullpen. And Dustin May tends to nibble a little bit. Dustin May tends to throw a lot of pitches, 5 hits, 3 walks, and the amount of innings that he had, it's just too many. You got to come in there. You got to get a lot of strikeouts. You got to come in there and get a lot of swing and miss. And that's something that he struggles with. It's nice to see him thrive in what he did yesterday. I think that, kind of going back to Saturday night, you saw a little bit of a role reversal where they kind of flipped Sheehan and May. And I think Sheehan had pitched his way into a more traditional starting role with the way that he had backstopped Ohtani and like, okay, let's go out there and see what that looks like if you give him the ball in the first inning. He struggled a little bit. May had struggled a little bit. Now May was a little bit better in that relief role, that piggyback role. But until I see him start to hammer the strike zone more often, I'm always going to be a little bit hesitant with Dustin May out of the bullpen. At least in the starting rotation, it gives him a little more runway. It gives him, and quite frankly, it gives his teammates, it gives Dave Roberts, it gives the bullpen an opportunity to maybe cover for some of the control issues that he might have and give yourself a little bit more runway on the back end. And Dustin May's got great stuff, but he's certainly a useful player. But until I see a guy that just fills up the strike zone on a consistent basis, I'm always going to be a little reluctant with May.
Yeah, and that's somewhere where we got to go also to the quality of the opponents, where Emmett
Sure.
Sheehan faced the Milwaukee Brewers team,
Yep.
who right now is on fire. And then you look at Dustin May going against the Minnesota Twins, who more than likely are going to be sellers in the trade deadline because they're 5 games behind from the wild card. They have 5 teams in front of them. So are they really going to be contending when it comes to late August and September? I think that's not the case. So they don't have that big time quality lineup where you got a couple of guys in there that might be trade assets, but more than likely it's like the bullpen guys, some of their starters that might be getting interest from other teams. So Dustin May, he got out of it unscathed. I feel that once again, if it's a 1-inning scenario, maybe that's going to be better for him. But I was like, hey, at least I got encouraged where the Dodgers got the win with him on the mound, where, yes, the defense absolutely helped him, helped Kirby Yates and Tanner Scott in the 9th inning, where you go back to the weekends, the games on the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and during the open of yesterday's show, I said the bats failed the team on Friday, and then you had the pitching fail the team on Saturday, and then the defense failed the team on Sunday. Then on Monday, we had all 3 facets actually delivering for the team, even though the Dodgers needed 4 home runs to get 5 runs, and they became home run dependent like they've always been. It was like, all right, those 5 runs were enough in this game. You saw Tommy Edman, you saw Freddie Freeman, you saw the guys on the field, James Outman, making great defensive plays that helped its pitching. And then the pitching overall, they had traffic, but they were able to limit the damage to 2 run, where it was like, all right, more of a complete game. And part of that complete game was Dustin May.
It was. And look, I think anybody that's listened to Locked on Dodgers with me on it over the last month or so is starting to get a sense of what I look at when I watch a baseball game and what's important to me and what's important at what position. And I am kind of an absolutist in this regard. You can't walk people. If you're going to walk people, you have to strike out a ton of guys to cover it, and he doesn't. And until those ratios get back in the line of where they're supposed to be, I'm always going to be a little hesitant. Now, Is he useful? Absolutely. Is he somebody that you're going to need over the course of a season? Absolutely. Has he taken the ball every fifth day this season? Absolutely. And a credit to him for that. But I still would like to see him be a more consistent strike thrower, or you got to jack that strike up rate through the roof to where, hey, I can walk a guy here and there, but I'm always going to be able to strike my way out of it and get out of trouble. That's not, those two things haven't happened yet. So I'm always going to be a little bit hesitant to really jump in there. And I like the other thing you mentioned too. The Dodgers hit a bunch of home runs last night, but that's kind of all they did. And the deeper you get into the season, the better teams you start to play in the postseason, the harder and harder it is to hit a bunch of home runs. You're going to have to find a way to manufacture some runs along the way. You're going to have to find a way to get traffic and get big hits as opposed to just wait around for Will Smith to hit you a pair on any given night, which is great. If it happens, fantastic. But big swings last night, but I like that you brought up that point. They only scored 5, hit 4 homers, but only scored 4 runs. And with 4 home runs, you'd like to see an 8 or a 9 up on the board, and they just couldn't do that.
Absolutely. And now this is another question. You mentioned there's a spot for Dustin May on this team to be somebody that collaborates and helps the team. Yeah. If there comes an offer for him, or there's a potential of him being involved in a trade for some big talent from another team, would you include him? No questions asked?
I would. I think that the Dodgers have shown that they are pretty good at developing guys like Dustin May. Let's just kind of off the top of your head. And I'm not saying that they're all as good as Dustin May. Dustin May might be the best version of this, but Tony Gonsolin, Dustin May, River Ryan, Kyle Hurt, Justin Robleski, Emmett Sheehan, Landon Knack. That's 7 guys just off the top of my head of guys that can they pitch in the major leagues? Yes. Can you put them out there and get 4 or 5 innings in a starting situation? Yes. And the Dodgers have proven over and over and over again that they're very good at identifying those guys. They're very good at developing those guys. And, this isn't Shohei Ohtani or Clayton Kershaw or even a Tyler Glasnow who doesn't pitch a lot, but he is elevated. His stuff is just a tick above that the Dodgers have shown that they can find guys like that. And if they can, and by the way, other teams haven't. I'm not saying that they're easy to find. I'm saying it's easier for the Dodgers to find them. And if you can flip that for another outfielder, if you can flip that for a bullpen arm, Dustin May would not be the piece that holds me up.
Gavin Stone, we can add him to that list as well.
Great example. Yes.
And now the Dodgers. We got lucky with Freddie Freeman, who avoided going on the IL and actually played yesterday just over 24 hours after he took a pitch on his left wrist. But that doesn't seem to be the case with closer Tanner Scott, who left the game injured against the Twins. Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, what it means for the bullpen to lose out on their high-priced reliever.
Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you are about baseball under the lights, who isn't, right? Golf on the green, we just saw another major championship, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel, of course, is the best way to make every game even more exciting. So you're already following all these games and these events, and you're having a great time, but why not make it a little bit better, a little bit more thrilling? And you can, of course, with FanDuel. You can get in on the game while your friends are out doing whatever it is they're doing in the middle of the summer while you are having a great time and making a little, on the side, a little extra. So FanDuel, of course, allows you to track all of your favorite matchups. The app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions, so there's always something fun, a great way to find a bet for yourself as well. Easy to use, fast to pay out. That's important. And of course, makes even that regular season game that maybe you could miss, maybe you couldn't, feel like something that you absolutely have to see. So the same game parlay, maybe you're watching a bet right into the 9th inning. No matter what it is, FanDuel makes it feel like you are a part of the action. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers, well, you've got it covered. You can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Thanks for making us your first listen wherever you may be tuning in, either on your favorite podcast app or on our YouTube channel. Smash that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Full episodes, hot takes, breaking Dodgers news, and the Dodgers postcast show with Pete Fox live after the final out of every game. If it drops, you're on it. That's how you become an everydayer here on Locked On Dodgers. Tanner Scott left the game yesterday in the 9th inning with a full count and runners in first and second. Scott told Dave Roberts leaving the game that he felt a sting in his forearm. He's set to take an MRI today to learn more regarding this injury, with the manager saying his closer will more than likely head to the IL. With Evan Phillips, Blake Trinan, Brusar Graterol, and Michael Kopech already on the IL, this right here, even if Scott has had low lows this year, this isn't good news for the Dodgers, even though I know there are some fans who are celebrating it, Travis.
Yeah, I mean, you never want to celebrate somebody getting hurt. Obviously, if you're celebrating that, do better out there. But the other part of this is, a little bit like Freddie, we mentioned the other day, there may be a silver lining here, which will maybe allow him to go on the IL, allow him to heal, allow him to come back and maybe be the best version of himself along the way. I think that's a possibility if it's not too serious. Hopefully that he comes back and he's better than he's been, because he's struggled along the way for a good part of the season. I think the other thing that I don't know if this is good news, Harry, but it's clarifying news is, okay, we got to go get somebody, as opposed to, hey, I think he's going to figure it out. The underlying metrics are pretty good. The under the hood stuff's good. He's just got to locate his pitches better. I think he's going to be okay. I don't think we need to make a move to, yeah, we got to go get somebody. That it's a very clarifying situation that Tanner Scott, Blake Trinan, I think is going to be the guy, knocking on wood here, that his health improves and he's ready to go. Blake Trinan is likely to be the guy that's going to get the most high leverage outs as we get deeper and deeper into the season and certainly the postseason. But having another option there to go along with Trinan, to go along with Yates potentially, and maybe you'll see Alex Vezina slide into some of those roles. That's a possibility as well. But I think that Scott going on the IL, and combined with the fact that he's been relatively ineffective this year, means that I think it was likely they were going to do something anyway. I think it's almost certain that you go and find a high leverage arm now that he's going to miss some time.
Yeah, I think the team is now obligated to do so after this happens, where it's like, all right, July 31st is the deadline. We're less than 10 days away from that happening. So you got to make a big move. And I know that Andrew Friedman, after signing Tanner Scott to a big contract, after bringing in Kirby Yates, after having an all-star year in the 2024 season, he was like, all right, there you go. Now I'm cleaning my hands and I won't need to trade any of my top prospects to go and find a reliever or find some help that can be able to bring this team to a better spot in the second half of the season. And here we are, July 22nd, and Andrew Friedman more than likely will need to end up giving up a top prospect, giving up potentially a Sahir Hope or a Josue de Paula, and be like, man, I really wanted him to be in my big league club in a couple of years, but that's not the case. And Tanner Scott, like I said, he has had high highs after a rough start of the season. He ended up being consistent, but then right before the All-Star break, he had a couple of consecutive blown saves where he ended up then becoming the leader in baseball in this category. And you don't want to be in that spot as the closer for the Dodgers, because this team, more often than not, is going to give you a lead going into the 8th, the 9th, and no more clear example than last night when they went into the 9th and they were up by 4, and it's like everybody's feeling good. It's a 4-run lead. And then we ended up having 2 men on base, Carlos Correa at the plate, and by a foot, he didn't end up tying that game, which, by the way, I was watching the game with my girlfriend, and I told her, walk Correa. I rather the next guy come up and hit a grand slam and him give the Twins the lead. I don't want Correa having any type of success at Dodger Stadium, he was this close.
Of all the guys, Correa is probably at the very bottom of the list of guys that you want to see do something like that. Maybe Altuve, maybe Alex Bregman at some point, but no, Correa is on the forever and ever we hate you list at Dodger Stadium. So that was a very scary moment. Look, when going back to talking about making a deal here as we get closer and closer to the deadline, this is, I think, one of the great pleasures of being a Dodger fan. One of the great things that about rooting for this team that can make Dodger fans feel really good. They go for it. When they think they've got a chance to do it, they do not let this guy might be good in 3 years situation. We're not going to give him up. No. If they think they can win the World Series right now, and obviously they believe they can win the World Series right now, and they think that there's a piece out there that gives them a better chance of doing it, they'll go do it. They never really. Now, if there's something out there that they don't like and they don't see, they're not going to do it just to do it. That's not how they operate. But when they see something that makes sense, and it's almost always something pretty big. I mean, think Trey Turner and Max Scherzer. Think, just all
Machado.
Manny Machado is a great example. They get really good players at the deadline that come in and can potentially make a difference. Go back to last year, maybe not huge names, but you go out there, you get Michael Kopech, you get Tommy Edman. They were incredibly important to what they were doing as far as winning that World Series. And if it means you got to give up a guy here and there, maybe it's Kyber Ruiz, who really never pops. Maybe it's Yordan Alvarez, who becomes a multiple-time All-Star. You're never quite sure what it's going to be, but Andrew Friedman and his team have made way more good deals than they have bad deals. So if they see something that they want to go for, the price is not going to be, we got price. They're really good at drafting. The Dodgers scouting department is tremendous. They're always finding more good players. So, being able to have those prospects on your roster to go get veteran players is just as good as developing yourself, because they can always get more prospects.
Yeah, and Dave Roberts yesterday said most likely that Tanner Scott is going to end up in the IL. So now you got to look at replacements for him in those 8-inning situations, which, by the way, Lou Trevino is no longer on the active roster. He got DFA'd. Edgardo Henriquez, he got recalled from Oklahoma City from the AAA team. So that means you still got a less amount of options compared to just 2 days ago when Trevino was still pitching for the Dodgers. So Vesia, Yates, Dreyer, Banda, Kasperius, Wilkline, and Edgardo Henriquez +1, whoever the Dodgers replace Tanner Scott with once he lands officially on the IL. I mean, that puts you in a situation where Ora Hershiser described it perfectly yesterday. In a perfect scenario, the Dodgers would only need 2 pitchers when Shohei Ohtani is on the mound. Have Shohei pitch 3 innings, have whoever's next pitch 6. Dustin May got him almost through 5.
He did.
And then Tanner Scott, he got 1 out, which Tommy Edman absolutely saved him to get the final out in the 8th inning. And then Kirby Yates needed a great catch from James Outman at center field, where I was asking myself, if it had been Andy Pages, would he have been able to make that catch or no? I know we've seen him make some spectacular catches, but I was so happy that James Outman was there at that moment. And Travis, we can't finish the show before saying shout out Will Smith.
Oh my
God. Yeah. 2 home runs. They were solo bombs, but at the end of the day, his first home run ended up being the difference on the scoreboard, and he just keeps on showing. He's an MVP candidate right now. He leads the National League in batting average. He hit, I think it was 13th and 14th home runs of the season. He's not just depending on his power. He can do it all right now.
He's not going to win the MVP, but I agree with you, Harry. He's going to get votes. He's going to get consideration, and he absolutely should. And I think that Dodger fans that watch games, night after night, listen to podcasts like this, understand he might be the team MVP. Shohei's their best player. Shohei's the guy that does things that you just make, oh my God, I can't believe what it is I'm seeing. And Shohei might win the MVP again in the National League, and it's a great choice. But as far as consistency, as far as the guy that's just out there every single night, just giving you that same performance that very, very rarely fluctuates, Will Smith has been unbelievable for the Dodgers. Just terrific.
And look, Max Muncy's been out now for a couple of weeks, and we can agree now more than ever, he looks like he was the glue for this team. But can you imagine, and I knock on wood, if Will Smith wasn't there?
Oh my God. Well, they would not be in first place right now if Will Smith weren't there. They would not, they would be in a dogfight for that division lead. They may end up in one anyway, but look, Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, they're the megastars. Kershaw, Hall of Famer, Blake Snell, 2-time Cy Young Award. Like, all these guys are big, big, big names, but it's the Teoscar Hernandez's last year who kept this thing together. It's Will Smith this year. It's Max Muncy. It's Tommy Edman. It's guys like that make this lineup deeper, more consistent, more versatile. They've really cracked the code on how to put together a roster.
Hey, that 10-year, $140 million contract is looking pretty good at the moment for Will Smith. The way that he is giving the Dodgers big moments left and right. Well, That's a wrap for today's show. Big thanks for me and Travis for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. If you're still craving more baseball talk, have the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night be your second listen. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find it on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And also catch Pete Fox after every Dodgers game on our YouTube channel with his live postcast. We'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday, to hopefully chat with you about the Dodgers getting another win now with Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the mound. Travis, I like our chances with Yoshi on the mound, but now I have to ask you, do you think our bats will support him or unfortunately, like more often than not, let him down?
Hopefully they got unlocked a little bit last night with the home runs. They got a little bit of good vibes. Let's leave Mookie in the leadoff spot. Let's get Freddie going at a double last night. I'm optimistic.
Fingers crossed. Hopefully that's the case. We appreciate you riding with us, either if you're an everydayer or if you're a new listener. Thanks for being here with us. Until next time, keep it real, keep it Dodger Blue.